All right, we've looked at enhancing sounds. Now let's look at how to decompose and deconstruct sounds. We'll start with just a quick review of the Fourier theorem. Any periodic signal can be reproduced as the sum of sines at different amplitudes. Sine waves are the smallest atomic unit of sound. They cannot be reduced further, and they have no overtones in and of themselves, but as a summed sequence, they can become overtones. Reversing this process, you can resynthesize any signal if you know the sinusoidal components and their amplitudes. This involves a process of decomposing a sound through a fast Fourier transform, or FFT, which uses an overlapping window of samples to analyze and deconstruct the amplitude of sines in relation to an assumed fundamental across X number of frequency bands. Commonly, this is displayed as a sonogram. Once decomposed, the sinusoids can be edited and manipulated in order to change the timbre, pitch, duration, amplitude, or any combination thereof. This is then resynthesized using an inverse fast Fourier transform, or IFFT, with the same parameters as the original FFT to resynthesize the signal as the sum of sines. So, here is spectrum view. We have the waveform at the top. We've got the sonogram at the bottom. We can see that the waveform shows just the regular amplitude, but the sonogram shows the harmonics, the partials, if you will, of the signal after decomposing them. And it's representing those across in sonogram view. This is what we're going to be working with when we start decomposing the sounds. So how do we do that? Well, there's FFT, IFFT, or PFFT objects in Max MSP and PD, but that's a topic for interactive computer music. There's Isotope RX, which is a great tool for noise removal and spectral editing to a certain extent, but it is super expensive. There is Earcam's TS2, which is a great algorithm for manipulating spectral data, doing things like time stretching and transposing, but there's no real noise reduction and you can't edit individual sinusoids. There is the Alchemy synth, which is built into Logic, and it can do analysis, deconstruction, and editing of a signal for resynthesis as an instrument, but nothing else. Finally, there is SPEAR and FLUCOMA and REACOMA. These are open source tools for deconstructing and resynthesizing sounds, and it's what we're going to look at now. Again, this is just an overview. We're going to get into actual how-to in class. So we'll start with SPEAR, the Sinusoidal Partial Editing, Analysis, and Resynthesis program. It was created by Michael Klingbel, and it's available online, so make sure you've got that ready to go before class. The way that it works is that it analyzes an audio file and resynthesizes it from the sinusoidal components after you've edited them. Just be aware that it auto-sums a stereo file to mono, so it is best to work with mono files from the start. It gives you a really nice GUI to easily select individual sines, ranges, or create lassoed regions that you can then edit and do things like move, splice, join, flip, either horizontally or vertically. You can transpose, time stretch, alter the amplitude of different selected sines or regions, delete or draw your own sinusoids. That is where things get really cool. And you can do stuff like control the playback speed, the pitch, the volume, and the noise. And when you're done, all of that can be resynthesized to a new file. This is really cool. This is getting down to the atomic particle level of music and sound and editing at that level. Also, it's got a really cool option that lets you subtract one sound file's spectral components from another and output the result. This is cool for sound design, but as far as noise reduction, it's kind of hit or miss. Just be aware of that. So here is a view in SPEAR. This is the original unedited sound file. It's just a large stone being thrown into a pond. It makes a splashing noise. Yay. You can see that the sinusoids are all of these red overlapping waves, and as they get darker and darker red, they have more and more amplitude. You can also see that I have zoomed out as much as possible to show you the full spectrum. This is a 44.1 kilohertz 16-bit wave. Now, after a little bit of editing, it looks a little different. I have gone through, I have changed a lot of stuff. I have cut out things. I have taken higher partials and spliced them down. I have transposed things. I have cut out regions. You can see there's a circular region that got cut out and then moved down, and then I time stretched it to make that oval shape at the bottom on the right-hand side. I also use the controls to reduce the speed from 1 to 0.26, so just a hair above 4 times as long. I dropped the pitch by 9.5 semitones, but I left the volume and the noise components the same. This is going to sound a little bit different. Just a heads up. In fact, I loaded them up into TS2, and you can see the original on the left, and you can see the edited version on the right. They are vastly different. I am not doing anything other than putting them in there and displaying it. I did not change the intensity of the spectrum. This is literally what's coming out of here. So when I got rid of those upper partials, it really got rid of those upper partials. When I stretched it out, it really stretched it out. You can see I have much more energy in the fundamental areas and up through to, what was it, about 10K, but then everything above that gets cut off. So very, very different file. But another way that we're going to really play with decomposing sounds is FLUCOMA and REACOMA, the fluid corpus manipulation. So FLUCOMA and REACOMA are a set of tools for sound decomposition. They have command line versions, Max MSP, PD, and Super Collider versions, all available for FLUCOMA. And then REACOMA is a set of scripts for the command line version to integrate those into Reaper. I strongly recommend that if you are not already using Reaper, you download it for the next couple of weeks and use the free trial period, and download REACOMA and install those and FLUCOMA so that it's all in a nice GUI version and you don't have to use the command line. But it slices complex sounds into individual parts, allowing for interesting manipulations in a DAW or programming language. So make sure you download and install them before class. I have tutorials that I have linked to on the REACOMA page. This guy has a really, really good step-by-step how to install. But if you're on a Mac, you will have to deal with Apple's user account security complaining that FLUCOMA is not from a known developer. So I'm going to walk you through the next series of slides to show you how to get around this. It is a slight pain, and yes, you have to do it with the command line tools for sure, but if you're using the Max, PD, or Super Collider versions, you have to do it with all of those as well. So thanks, Apple. What will happen is that you will try and open up the fluid corpus manipulation command line tools and place them into a folder, and then you're going to want to click on all of these. These are command line, so they're just going to be binary executable files, and it's going to whine that it can't open it because it's from an unidentified developer. Yay. So hit OK. Then open up security and privacy, and you're going to see the lock, which you might have to unlock, and you will also see allow apps downloaded from App Store and identified developers, and then it's going to say Fluid Transients was blocked from use because it's not from an identified developer. Well, that's too bad, Apple. We really want to use it, so click Open anyway. And it's going to give you another warning that it can't verify the developer. Are you sure you want to open it? Yes! for the last time. Yes, I want to open it. Click open. At that point, it will open. It will not do anything because you're not giving it any options or pointing it to anything. Don't worry about it. Just close the terminal. You'll have to fully quit it with Command Q, and then go through and do the next one until you've gone through everything in the folder. Yes, I realize it's a time sink. I'm sorry. This is an Apple problem. On Windows, it just installs perfectly. So, how to use these? We're going to take a look at these in class because it's way too much to get into in a video, but I have already posted a cheat sheet online as to what they do, how they work, and all of the options, and it is insane. We are going to look at things like slicers, which chop up audio based on different parameters. We are going to look at things like layer tools, which separate component sounds. So this is really cool. If you have a drum and a bass together on one mono track, you can separate them out into a drum track and a bass track. This is awesome. You can also do different things like harmonic separation, percussive separation, spectral or transient component separation. It's so cool. But from my own experience, you are probably going to get the best results from the following command line tools, and then once they're installed in REACOMA tools: Novelty Slice, Transient Slice, HPSS, NMF, and Signs. This will create really interesting separations, and it will give you a host of tons of material that you can use for sound design projects. Then, in Reaper, you are going to want to bring up the action list. You can do that just by hitting $. And you're probably going to want to assign these to a hotkey, but explode multi-channel audio or MIDI into new one-channel items. So if your result is a stereo file and you only want one left channel and not the right channel, that's where you use that. Some of these will also output multiple takes. So if you want to take the takes and rearrange them and not have to deal with, oh, I have to, select a take and then render it. There's another action called explode takes of items across tracks, and that will create a new track for every take. It's very useful. But we will look at how to use that in class, and you will have a lot of fun. Come prepared with a couple of sound files and have them uploaded into your Google Drive space as well so that I can access them and demo them in class. This is going to be fun.